So I went to see Hereditary and it was the worst cinema experience of my life thanks to some absolute idiots in the audience. The theatre only had 5 people in it and 2 of those were constantly shouting, running up and down the aisles every 5 minutes, talking on their phones and just acting like complete morons for the entire movie. They eventually got kicked out, but I feel it's worth mentioning this because I did find it hard to concentrate on the film and so it might affect my review in some way. I went out to complain a couple of times, so I did miss a minute or 2 of the film, and they weren't kicked out until over halfway through the movie when enough people had complained about it. I'm not even sure why they spent the money to see the film since they clearly weren't watching it at all. And when they got removed, they were given a refund. I didn't get a refund, and I wanted to see the film. I didn't know anything about Hereditary besides it was a horror film and it had Toni Collette in it. The horror genre is one that is usually of very poor quality. You maybe get 1 good horror film a year, 2 if you're lucky. I've already seen a bunch of horror films this year and they've all been terrible, but I really like Toni Collette from Krampus, so I went to see it on that basis alone. It's the first feature film from writer-director Ari Aster and he did a phenomenal job. If this movie is anything to go by, he's going to have a very interesting career. I watched the trailer after seeing the film and they give a fair bit away. I mean, they don't give away the whole plot or anything, it's not Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, but they show you some visuals that give you an idea which direction the film goes in. On that note, I'm going to show very little trailer footage so I don't spoil anything for you. As I was watching the movie, I thought it was going along a certain path, and at one point it takes a sharp turn. From then on, I didn't have a clue where the film was going. I mean that in a good way. As the story went through twists and turns, I was constantly on edge for the unexpected. Even from the very opening shot, the cinematography was some of the best I've seen in years. A lot of the shots had this deliberate symmetrical framing and they let the scenes play out in long continuous takes with barely any cuts. They allow the drama and horror to play out naturally in front of the screen rather than trying to manipulate suspense or tension by having lots of quick cuts. The atmosphere is so well crafted, I really am astonished this is Ari Aster's first feature. As an example, look at how beautifully made this shot is.
Come on, Peter. It's your suit.
The acting throughout was some of the best I've seen in recent years. Toni Collette was the main reason I wanted to see this. While she was great in Krampus, I genuinely had no idea she was such an amazing actor. She gave such a flawless performance. All of her emotions and actions felt genuine. I couldn't believe how good she was. Even the child actor was fantastic. The little girl was such a weird and creepy character and she played the role perfectly. At first I had apprehensions about the teenager played by Alex Wolff. Every time I see him I always mistake him for his brother Nat Wolff, who was in that terrible Death Note movie. With that said, even Alex Wolff did a great job in this film. There's a number of really dramatic scenes that allow the actors to really let loose with their performances. It's fantastic. I'm surprised this has such a low age rating. It's only a 15 here in the UK. That's the same as something like Deadpool, which is pretty tame in comparison. When I left the cinema I thought it was rated an 18, but it's not. I guess that goes to show how good the filmmaking is, that they make things seem so horrific whilst not relying on blood and gore. Honestly, some parts of this movie were so hard to watch. And that's not because of the annoying audience members. I mean that in a good way, it is a horror film after all. They set up such a creepy, disturbing atmosphere and such high levels of tension, it makes everything seem terrifying. Some bits made me squirm in my seat and I almost covered my eyes. And that just shows how absorbed I was in the film, even while having the most annoying audience members running around like a moose with a wasp up its arse. The score was very well done, particularly one part at the end. It sounded very joyous and upbeat, which really unsettled me considering what was actually going on. The disparity between what you're hearing and what you're seeing is so masterfully done. It gave me chills. And don't forget, this is the director's first film. I'm aware I haven't really spoken about the story, but I think the less you know, the better. I loved the story, and it felt like such a roller coaster that it made it incredibly enjoyable to find out what the hell was going on. I don't know if enjoyable is the right word. Maybe horrific. I'm going to watch it again, so hopefully it'll be with a better audience. I'd give this an 8 out of 10 easily. I'd probably give it a 9 or a 10 out of 10 rating, but I had such a hard time concentrating on the film in the first half because of the awful audience. I'm also hesitant to give a 10 out of 10 rating without at least seeing it twice, but this film really could be up there. Still, I'm going to watch it again, so hopefully it'll be with a better audience this time. There's so many little details to the film. The movie has lots of subtle things that make it even more scary for those who spot them. I can't wait to see this again. If you enjoy horror movies, you really owe it to yourself to see this film. It was genuinely disturbing, even terrifying. It was scary, horrific, with a superbly crafted atmosphere, great story, and it was very well acted. And it had no stupid jump scares.
Fantastic!
It would have been so easy for them to just throw in some brain-dead jump scare sound effects. But they remain consistent with their tone. They create genuine scares rather than relying on lazy sound effects. I can't think of a single negative in the entire film. It's probably my favourite film of the year so far. At least in the top 3, you should definitely give this a watch. It's not just big, over-the-top scares. The film has a lot of subtlety, which I find makes it even more chilling. Some things are hidden in the shadows. They sit on screen for a really long time, and they're so subtle you're not sure if they're really there or you're seeing things. It's perfect. The characters are believable and you care about them, and that's what makes it scary. You actually care about the characters and can relate to what's going on, at least until things get crazy. So I have since gone to see this a second time and I loved it. Seeing it twice, I was able to piece it all together and it was even more horrifying. I think I've now got a full grasp of exactly what was going on in that mad film. There's so many little clues, not just in the dialogue but with the visuals as well. The way the camera lingers on certain things or what they show or don't show. Some parts had this surreal, dreamlike quality to them that was completely mesmerising. After my first viewing, the film stuck with me for days, and after my second, I still keep thinking about it. I'd rate this a 10 out of 10.
Hooray!